Hello, I'm Archibald Chesterfield III. I'm doing paid reviews on the Paul Pluta channel. And today I'm doing a review on one of my favorite watches, the Omega Speedmaster, man on the moon, the man on the moon. And remember, like, subscribe, tell your dickhead friends, and don't forget, sponsor me on YouTube and Patreon because I can't live on Google Ads alone. Remember, man cannot live on Google Ads alone. I need a bit more coin. So whether you sponsor me, see, for $50 an hour, I can talk to you on the phone and give you fashion advice on your watches. I can give you collection advice. Remember, Archie Luxury is the greatest YouTube celebrity of all time, specializing in watches. Okay, here we go. So today's question is, should I get a good value now on a 1861? That's an Omega Speedmaster, man on the moon, man on the moon, or go for a 3-to-1 with the long haul in mind? Archie, I'm a big fan. I have to credit you with my newfound interest in horology. After watching your YouTube channel and following up with your commentary with some research on my own, I feel like I'm on my way to becoming a proper watch snob, noble goal as it may be. I am not far into the hobby thus far, as my only piece worth mentioning is my beloved Rolex Submariner 16610, steel date Submariner, which was purchased from a reputable local jeweler's estate collection. It's every bit as cool as advertised. I still sit and study it like a Rubik's Cube, even though I've had it for 2 years. This brings up my question for you. It's about time to add another horse to the stable, Arch, and I want to do it right. No punter moves here. I want a chronograph, and even though it has a similar aesthetic to the sub, I gotta have an Omega Speedmaster, man on the moon. Okay. Here's the question. 861 or balls to the wall 321? I know the vintage 321 are quite dear, as you say, and demanding a pricely sum, but I'm looking for the long haul, and I've seen another watch in a Pacific caliber holding its value and even appreciating, but I haven't seen another watch holding its value and appreciating like a 321 does. So from a pure investment standpoint, which watch stands to be better value over the next 10, 20 or 30 years? A recent 1861, an oldish 861, or the balls out grail, for me anyhow, 321. Second half of my question, what is a good in US dollars for a good example 321? I see them vary in price way more than the 1861. Since I've asked 2 questions, I'm paying for 2 answers because you nor anyone should do shit for free. I have sent you 40 US to your PayPal. Please post a video reply. Best regards, Speedy Fan. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Speedy Fan. So, do you go 1861, 861, or 321? Very, very good question indeed. And the answer there is, look, it depends what you're going to use it for. And I gotta be honest with you. I think there is no bad choices there. The only thing I will say, it depends whether you see yourself using this watch. Is it a safe queen? What is it? What is it exactly? I think a 321, the only problem with buying a vintage 321 is you've got to make sure that it's not a mix match of parts. You really want to get original type pieces, and this is where vintage can get tricky. It's not for the lay punter to really go in there, and you can very easily make a big mistake. People have changed a lot of stuff around, etc., etc. The funny thing is that the 321 Speedmasters, they are very, very, most of them have had some sort of things changed to them. Original one with original dial and original hands is very, very expensive. Because when you sent your watch to Omega for servicing, they would change the hands. But the ones that are worth the most money have the original hands. So it is a very, very tricky thing. Look, I would seriously, my own opinion is, now I've looked at it myself, I've said, you know, what do I want here? What do I want to do? And I decided myself to go for a later model 1861. Now, why did I do that? Why did I do that instead of going for a 321? And the answer is, I want to wear it and enjoy it without worrying too much about if it got damaged or, you know, something went wrong with it. So I got to tell you the honest truth there. I love my Omegas, and I'm really proud that I've brought you to the stable there. But I would really say to you, you've got to look at it and say, is this is it a safe queen, or is it something I really want to use myself? It's something I want to use myself and enjoy, because you can very easily enjoy any of these. They are great watches. I think myself, I personally would say, you know, if you had a friend who was selling a 321, that's a different story than if you've got to actually search for one. So I would really be saying, be careful. You've got to know your stuff. You've got to go out there and, you know, this is the whole thing there. They are very, very, very collectible. Very, very collectible pieces. Huge premium you've got to pay for this type of thing here. So a 321, it is really, you know, those vintage ones, it's so much so on the condition. That's what makes it so valuable itself there. You could pay, you know, the sky is the limit for a vintage 321 movement piece, you know, depending on how early it is, you know, they can be very, very, very. Is it worth having? Look, I tell you honestly, I think they are definitely worth having. Yes, I do. I think they are going to go up in price. I really do. However, if you know, I know my limitations. My limitations are that I really want to have, I really want to have, I really want to have pieces which I can enjoy and love. You know, that's the whole thing for me. I think that's more important than anything else. So I would be saying to you, you know, you got to look at what do you really want there. Look, I would be going on Chrono24. Go to Chrono24, and you want to get in touch with a damn honest, good dealer, because these are, you know, these are very, very special. What do you pay for a decent 321? Just having a look at Chrono24 here, you're going to pay somewhere, easily somewhere from, you know, $10,000 mark. Aussie, you know, what's that? US dollars, 8,000 mark there. You're going to be paying for it. They are not cheap. They are not cheap. A good example is hard to find. It's very, very, very hard to find a really good example. And there's so much trickery that does go on there. I know I had a friend who bought one in an auction and they had the wrong back, and unless you really knew your stuff, you wouldn't have known that. So I think realistically, I think the sweet spot myself is a 10-year-old Speedy or a new Speedy. I think that's probably the sweet spot. Omega in Australia, they started discounting very heavily. Speedies are being discounted. I don't know why, but they are. And see, you can buy a really nice Speedy in my country in Aussie dollars. You can get a nice one for $3,500 to $4,500. You can almost, I know new ones that aren't much, you know, $4,500, $5,000. So that's you know, that's the thing about a new one is it's fully serviced, it's it's brand new, you know, everything is perfect. Great, usable, wearable piece. Whereas if you buy a vintage one, you've got to be extra careful. You want to make sure, you know, the Speedmaster was never a waterproof watch, but it's got a little bit of water resistance, whereas an older one may not have that, you know. So you've got to be a little bit careful with these vintage things because so much of the value is the dial. So if the dial gets damaged, it's not good news. So I think you got to look at it. What do you want to do with it? Now, I think myself, for my own self, I said to myself, you know something, I love watches. I want to wear the damn things. Yes, they can be investment tools. Yes, I understand. But instead of me putting 10 to 15,000 into a 3-to-1, I thought, you know, I'd rather have some really nice pieces, not just one. I mean, if Speedmasters are your grail, by all means, buy a 3-2-1, okay? By all means. But in my view, I said, you know, I want a Speedy. I'd never sell my Speedy. But I wanted a Patek. I got a World Time. I got a Reverso. I got an IWC. I got an Explorer. And I got a Breguet. So I like to have quite a few pieces. If you're someone who wants smaller, prepared to limit the numbers, by all means, a Grail like a 3-to-1, ooh, I think they're a great investment. So, in my opinion, I'd probably be going newer and adding more pieces. I find that fun, okay? I find that fun. Now, with my one, I bought mine from a dealer. I paid about $3,000, just under $3,000 US. Second hand, 10-year-old, box papers, everything. I'm happy with that. I think I could get my money back anytime I wanted. That's a great choice there. If I wanted a 3-to-1 now, I think that the horse is bolted, so you're going to be paying a bit of a premium. No matter what, you're going to be paying a premium. I don't see you getting one less than 7 or 8 US, so quite expensive, you know, quite expensive. A vintage one is super cool, but if you're just adding a piece, I'd probably, my own opinion is, I would probably add a more modern Speedy and add a vintage Mark II. Because they're a bit soft. The Mark IIs are a bit, and that gives you two of them instead of a 3-to-1. Now, I kind of like a bit of variety. So that's really, I think for you, if you've got one watch at the moment, you've got the Subby, which is, I can't criticize the Subby. That's a great 16.6 ones. I had one of those years ago. Great watch. And the Speedy, I'd probably go for a 1861. I'd go for that. There's some really, I reckon that's the kind of box pay. Get one of those. That's what I would do. And then, you know, you can very quickly turn around and add a third piece. You know, that's, instead of putting twice the money, 3 times the money into a 3-to-1. So it depends what floats your boat. What really floats your boat. In my world, I'd rather have a few different variations. That's what I like to do. But if you're a Speedy person, it's a bit of a minefield because there is so many variations there. There's so many ones have been, you know, that to get a fully original one is next to impossible because, as I said, when people service them, Omega change the hands, and you know, there's so many things there that play into it. Box and papers is impossible to get on a 70s, 60s, 70s type piece. You know, well, they changed the movement in the late 60s to the 861. So the 70s that they were all 861. So you know, the other thing is too, there's some vintage variations. Like in some of them have the pre-moon back. You know, that's another variation. In one year in 69 they used a certain type of back. There's some those kind of things can be very collectible as well. There's a whole lot of information you'd you want to research and find out which one you really, really want, I'd be going to a really top dealer. No bargains. You're gonna be paying the price for it. So I think myself, as an enthusiast, I'd rather have other brands in my collection. I want to have a Rolex. I want to have an Amiga. I want to have an IWC, a Jaeger-LeCoultre, a Pat. I want to spread. You know, I enjoy different watches, and that's not to say if I had a 321 I would sell it. I'd love a 321, but I think that boat has kind of sailed now. They're kind of there is no bargains there. You'd have to put in big money like that. Is it worth it in the long run? Well, it depends. What do you do with these watches? Is it the enjoyment out of them? What do you get from them? For me, I like putting on different watches, and I'm not going to lose anything on a modern Speedy, but the older ones, sure, they've got huge investment potential, but it's 3 times the price. See, I buy my watches, my investments, you know, you buy other things. Watches are for my enjoyment, and you know, we're only on this planet for a short while. Enjoy it, use it, wear it. And a vintage one, you're kind of scared to use it too much. You know, you want to be careful of. The reason it's worth so much is for the ones that don't have much wear. You know, whereas one that's more modern, it does well. You look after it, but you know, you understand what I'm saying there. So I think the sweet spot for me is the more modern ones, but I'm not going to criticize you if you went for the other ones. I think the 861s are probably, that's the safest, best bet to go for. Instead of putting so much money in there, I'd be looking at what's another piece I could get? You know, maybe an Explorer 2. Wouldn't it be cool to have 3 pieces? Your subby, your Speedy, and an Explorer 2, instead of just a Rolex and this Grail Speedy we can't touch, it's in the safe. So you got to answer that question. It's not for me to answer. You got to answer that yourself. But 3-to-1s are going to be, I think they're very, very collectible. The horse is sort of bolted, so you're paying high for them. Are they going to, who knows? Who knows anything in this world? Who really does know? But one thing for sure is enjoy the hobby. What makes you happy? What makes you happy? So I think I've tried to give you my opinion. It's a tricky one. There is no right or wrong answer. At the end of the day, it's the enjoyment you get out of them. Even if the watch is worth $50,000, you've got to get the enjoyment out of it. It's not so much. But my view, I'd go for 861. Go for it now. Go for it now. Enjoy it. That's what life is for. I mean, a vintagey one. If you really, 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 you know, buy one later. You know, buy one later. But at the moment, get something you can wear and enjoy and love. This just holding it and hoarding it, I don't know. I don't know if that's what makes you happy. But there you go. That's my advice. I'm Archie Luxury, the greatest YouTube celebrity of all time. Tell me what you guys think of that.